In the blue twilight of Pandora, when the forest hums and the ocean breathes, you can feel a story sharpening, like an arrowhead warmed by fire. Hey, welcome back to your channel. I am your host as always. Two films have already brought the people back to Pandora, and together they earned over $5 billion at the box office. That kind of gravity means something. Audiences aren't just watching, they are returning. Now another horizon glows. The third chapter, Fire and Ash, is slated for December 19th, 2025, and trailer teased a people we have never met. The volcanic Ash clan, led by Varang, flame against water, grief against duty, and maybe Navi against Navi. So here our first question, the kind that doesn't sit politely in the corner. If the Ash people are shaped by catastrophe, are they villains or survivors who learn to make a home inside disaster? Think about it. A clan raised by lava, scarcity, smoke, a leader, rank, hardened by loss. If a scar rained cinders, how gentle would you be? One theory says the Ash people may not be purely antagonists. They could be a necessary mirror, exposing how the rest of the Pandora could survive only when it is convenient, and burn when it must. Maybe the Ash clan isn't the beginning of evil, but the end of innocence. What do you think? If Neytiri takes a hard look at the clan and sees her rage reflected back, does the line between protector and destroyer start to blur? Because Neytiri is the ember we all feel warming the dark. She lost her eldest son. She carries that wound like a second heartbeat. And here comes the uncomfortable possibility. Grief can turn into doctrine. What if her grief became policy, a strategy, a decision to take the fight into the furnace rather than wait for the flame to find her? Would you follow her if the path she chose saved the clan, but scarred her soul? Then there is Quaritch, the man who died human and returned Navi, carrying a memory that isn't a soul and a body that isn't his. He's more than a ghost. He's a question with muscles. Some fans whisper a dangerous idea that Quaritch could fracture in two directions at once. On one side, a soldier who doubles down on domination because hatred is only compass that still points north. On the other, a reluctant apostate, haunted by the sensory truth of Pandora, the smell of wet bark, the balance of the banshee's wing, and forced to admit that the world he was sent to break is the first world that he ever felt home. If Quaritch hesitates, even once, does that make him redeemable or just more efficient as a monster? Hold that in your mind while we turn to Kiri, the child who doesn't fit any map. She hears Eywa like a melody trapped in water. What if Kiri isn't simply connected, but constituted by the network? Imagine her as a living interface, a bridge between memory and matter, a breathing ritual. If that's true, then her choices might not be personal at all. They might be planetary. Here's a theory that keeps resurfacing like a talking for air. Kiri's arc could be the spine that links every element. Forest, water, fire, and what comes next. Not to show her power, but to show the world's price. If Eywa can act through her, can Eywa also suffer through her as well? And if Eywa suffers, how far would it Pandora go to protect its own consciousness? Meanwhile, the saga's geometry is getting bolder. Forest in the first film, water in the second, fire rising in the third. It feels almost ritualistic, an elemental pilgrimage. What if each chapter is a confession of human failure? Deforestation, extraction, combustion, and then wind, trade, aerial conflicts when the sky itself becomes a border? Here's a theory with teeth. The elements aren't just settings, they are indictments. Each film takes a human seeing greed, conquest, combustion, and wraps it into Navi's myth so we can actually look at it. It's a Trojan old trick. Dazzle the scenes and smuggle the hard question in. James Cameron has basically admitted as much. The spectacle is the vehicle, the message is the cargo. Do you buy that? Or do you think movies are just movies? Let's not forget the long road ahead. This isn't a trilogy, it's a 5-film spine. We're only 2 chapters deep. The third is coming very soon. And the final destination, if the plans hold, isn't merely another island on Pandora. It's an Earth. Imagine the reversal. The Navi is stepping onto our poisoned soil, looking at us the way we look at them, with curiosity, pity, and maybe fear. If Neytiri ever breathed our air, would she find something worth saving, or a cautionary museum with no exits? So here another layered, uncomfortable theory. When the Navi come to Earth, the conflict won't be humans versus aliens. It will be human versus its reflection. The corporation will still look for immortality, maybe through new biotech spawned from Tolkien Emerita. While ordinary people, the ones who know what river used to smell like, might become franchise unexpected heroes. Back to Pandora, there is another thread tightening. Loak, the second son who is speak in his steps, and courage. What if this entire epic is sneaking a baton into his hand? Jake is a soldier who learned to pray. Loak could be the rebel who learns to lead. What if fire and ash hardens him, forcing him to argue with Neytiri, to challenge Jack, to choose between family loyalty or planetary duty? Are we watching a birth of the leader or fracture of a family? Now fold the map and look at the edges. Every time Pandora expands, our world shrinks a little. Not in size, but in excuses. If a fictional moon can honor its dead, why can't we honor our living forests? Of calculation, if made-up ocean can say no to extraction, then what are we waiting for? And that's bringing us full circle to the Ash people. If they've allied with human interest, but not out of love, out of calculation, what does it say about Navi's politics? About pragmatism when the ground itself is a threat? Would you forgive a clan that bargains with fire if the bargains could keep your children alive for one more winter? Or is there a line that once crossed turns survival into surrender? Look, the calendar is clear. A new chapter is coming and carries smoke under its fingernails. Fire and ash promises heat, yes, but also clarity, the kind that only arrives after you watch something precious burn and realize the frame was spelling words. Let me leave you with 3 questions that only the next film can answer it, but you can answer it right now. If grief becomes law, who protect us from our heroes? That's a good question. If the enemy learns to love the world he swears to conquer, does he stop being the enemy? And question number 3, when the Navis finally step onto Earth, will they find allies among us, or only a mirror we can no longer bear to face? Drop your theories, defend it like a clan, and remember, on Pandora, nothing is just myth, it's memory. It's alive. If you hear, means it will carry us either about the movie or what I wanted to say. Either way, in this channel we're gonna talk about movie theories and history podcast. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, like this video and send it to your friend. And as always, see you on the next one.